So this is a battle on Cliff in the Tier 8 American Heavy Tech Tree tank, the M3Y. It's my first battle in this tank, and so before I went into battle, I decided to look at the armor layout on tanks.gg, which we'll do in a minute, but first I want to do a little bit of a map briefing, and there's a lot going on this map, so it's going to take a little bit of time. The features of the map are, there's a long flat corridor on the one line where tank destroyers will typically go somewhere either on this corner or somewhere back here and try to shoot at medium or heavy tanks or light tanks trying to cross and get up into the donut. There's the donut, which if you can control this area, you have some bushes all along both sides where you can get some concealment and shoot down on the enemy base, maybe shoot at artillery. There are two tank destroyer positions on the 5 line. One is here, one is here. And the tank destroyer positions are good to shoot at people trying to come around the back or occupying the middle. And sometimes from there you can shoot down at people who are trying to come up into the donut. And then on this side of the map is the heavy lane, which is already safe because the height of this hill prevents artillery from shooting. Artillery usually sits in the corners of A1 and K1, and they can shoot all over the map, but they can't shoot over this hill and hit things that are hugging the hill. So that's generally what this map is about. When you look at the traditional role of a heavy tank, it's to come along this line here and or up this road, and either fight it out with other heavies behind the hill while trying not to get spot and shot at by any light tanks that are on the hill. But there's also this additional road here. And this additional road is, it's a little bit lower than the rest of the terrain, so you can cross safely most of the time here. And there is a ridge here where if you can get behind this, you're safe from the tank destroyers that usually sit up here, and you can try to get shots on the enemies who are playing the middle over here. So when I go into this battle, I decide, let's look at the armor model first. So this is the armor model of the M3Y, or the visual layout. And the first thing I noticed when I went and looked at this tank is that the turret is shaped like a V, which is kind of unusual. But it gives you very good angling on your turret. Plus the thickness of the armor on the turret is 200 millimeters, which is extremely strong. So your effective armor, even straight on, is in the 300 range, sometimes even more. Which even for tier 10 heavies, they're going to have a hard time penning you at if you have up to 300 millimeters of penetration. Meaning it's not a guarantee. Doesn't mean you want to sit in front of tier 10 medium and heavy tanks, but it means you have very good protection here. The other thing I noticed was that the front plate is not only angled back, but it's scooped to the sides as well, which gives you additional angling. So the front plate is 165. The front plate is pretty strong, but the main feature also of this vehicle is that it has 10 degrees of gun depression. So when you use your gun depression and then you angle this front, or you raise the front of the tank and angle back this front plate, all of a sudden now you have almost 300 millimeters of effective armor, which makes this tank incredibly strong. And the commander's hatch, which is a weak point, disappears, if you notice, when you raise the front of the vehicle. So then the only thing you have to worry about is the front plate, which is only, 105. And the way to play this tank then is hull down. And hull down means you get behind an ally, or you get behind some rocks or some rubble or anything where you can just stick your turret over it. And sometimes that just means terrain, where there's a hill or a curve, and you are able to keep your lower plate hidden. So because this tank is such a strong hull-down player, I decided that as I'm going into this battle, I'm probably going to want to focus on this area, which is elevated, and play this tank to its strengths, because I believe you should play a tank to its strengths. But if I go into this position, there were some ruins here, and I'm going to be very conscious of staying within these ruins so that I'm blocked, or I'm not, out in the open from the tank destroyer position over here, and that I have some cover from artillery. And And I wind up looking around a lot to a dizzying degree, so I'm gonna switch to arcade view as much as I can in this battle. So as we come up this hill, the first thing I'm going to be looking for are light tanks. You see where both my Lynx and this EBR are going. I'm going to be looking for tanks trying to cross. There's a little bit of a notch here, and any vehicles crossing here, you can get shots on them if you stop and aim. And looking to see if the EBR is going to try to cross. My Lynx does cross. He does take some damage going up. And I can see the EBR is not going for it, so I'm going to then advance to the middle. This is like my 10th time trying to do this, so because there's a lot going on in this map, and hopefully this will work. So there's a BZ-176 right here and an AMBT. This is a 4-shot autoloader, and this is a Chinese heavy tank with this ridiculous turret, and they're both new tanks in the game, or relatively new. And what I'm afraid of as I'm coming up here is that any enemy tanks that get up into... Any enemy tanks, if they can successfully get cross up into this area, this is really especially also for light tanks. So there's a position here in the bushes where if a light tank gets in here, and especially in a lower tier game where the view ranges aren't so strong, other people can light you, and the light tank sitting where I am can get shots on you all day long. And so, but even a heavy tank, if he was able to get up here and use his armor and just kind of creep up, around this rock, they can get shots on you. And I think the alpha on this is like 680 alpha. Don't want to get shot by this guy. So it's something that I'm concerned about as I'm approaching the middle here. I see the BZ is, low on health, and he's still down. Even though the AMBT is climbing, I see there's other tanks here. So for the moment, I'm going to focus on this middle area. And again, looking at these ruins here, this helps me stay safe from artillery, which is going to be back here. The Iron Arnie's out here. He's not already safe, but artillery doesn't seem to be focusing on us at the beginning of the game. And then there's that tank destroyer position, which is up here. And I'm going to use this ruin. And it's kind of technical, but, I'm going to try, and I'm going to be very conscious of trying to shoot at this IS-3 with... there's this Rheinmetall Borsig and the Sturm S1, and I'm going to be very conscious the entire game of them shooting at me, which, I'm thinking they're probably up here. And these days, tank destroyers pre-aim on bushes, so, by the time your Sixth Sense goes off, you've already lost a significant amount of health. So I take a shot from the IS-3, doesn't worry me too much. And I see I don't have a shot on this Super Pershing. And if you notice, this BZ has now, I don't know where he is, or the AMBT. For all I know, they're looking right at me. But if you notice, I've pulled up, so if they are over here, they can't shoot me because of this rock. So here, my Iron Arnie, who's not already safe, did get shot by artillery, and I'm getting, more and more concerned about where this BZ-176 is. So I turn my armor in that direction, and, well, I'm still looking for opportunities here. At some point, I'm going to sit there and decide that I gotta go find them. So now I see the BZ has moved up onto the other side, and he goes down. The artillery hits my Iron Arnie again. Also to note, the Alpine Tiger has come over here unopposed. The Vipera is now coming up along this road and is going to go into that position that I showed you before. I'm looking for this AMBT. Again, I don't feel comfortable sitting in the middle where this AMBT can be coming around and shooting at me in the side. So I want to go see if I can find him. And I know I'm going to take a shot from this Super Pershing as I go back, but I don't really care. And when I get down here, I realize the AMBT is, he's playing on the other side, on his own side. So it looks like the Iron Arnie is coming with me, maybe to both of them. And as I just, figure out what's going on over here, I'm thinking about going around, but if I go around here, that Rheinmetall Borsig, if he's sitting up there, is going to have clear shots on me. So I hesitate. But then I see the Iron Arnie going around, and this is very important in this game, which is when you move, you don't move alone. And if I were to go alone and be the only tank in a position, I could get shot at from all sides. But when you have someone else helping you, and what they're doing is they'll attract fire for you, but they'll also spot for you. So I'm looking at him and saying, well, if he's going to pull up here, he's going to get clear vision on anything on this side. And then if he lights the AMBT, I'll poke around and shoot him and then poke back before the tank destroyers can shoot at me. That's kind of the plan. And then I see the Rheinmetall has been lit, so I decided to take to shoot at him because he's really been my whole major concern the entire game. Like I said, this is a complicated game to narrate. So we now, at this point, there's an AMBT again, another one. I'm going to take shots at him. I don't think he can see me. And so, at this point, if you look at map control, we've taken control of just more than half of the map, and it's 7-3, so we're obviously winning this game. But the fact that we're going to be able to get into here now and be able to get lights on the base side of the map means that this is going to be a clear win. So, I have cover from this rock sitting in front of me, and I'm going to see if I can get a shot on the AMBT. He goes down. And then I'm going to... the Rheinmetall is still alive, and I don't really want to just drive out into a bush and get spotted by him, so I'm going to start exploring the base to see if I can't see with while I have some cover what's going on over there. And now we're also coming around. So in this map, once your allies start to occupy this area, you basically have the enemy surrounded, and which means that they are going to get shot at from multiple angles, and it's very hard to defend. So I see the Sturv S1 over here. I decided the safest bet is to just try to get hull down and see if I can take shots at him. Then I see all these other tanks over here. That happens a lot. You look at someone and they explode. And I know better than to just try to, poke over and on this IS-3. So the Sturv takes a shot at me. I see the shot hit the dirt. And getting a little frustrated here. I realize I have to go deal with him. And you see, this is where my armor comes in handy because he bounced me. So a lot of this game is not only what you do, but it's what you don't do. A lot of what you don't do keeps you alive. I can see he has the small gun on the Borsig, which is it's a very accurate sniper gun, and so this game is just about over. and that's the game. If you notice, there were white markings on the vehicles that on these tanks. This is a mod. I have a mission at the moment to try to hit certain modules, and it's one of the game's missions, and so I enabled this mod. It's called Korean Random, which I haven't used in many years. So that's the game. If you notice, I got 3,000 damage, 771 assists. That's 4,000 combined. That's for a first game in this tank, it's a great result. But part of it is because I understand the vehicle and its strengths and played it to its strengths. So that's that, and this map and the positions on this map. This is a battle on Westfield and the German Tier 9 light tank, the RU-251. And in all the battles I'm going to show you today, I guess the overall theme is looking for opportunities and not committing to some. You have a plan, but you don't just blindly go into the plan. You have to look for opportunities, and you have to be able to properly identify them. And the features of this map are, there's a hill area here, which is really where heavy tanks go because there's some cover from artillery. Artillery sits here. This is my artillery here. And they usually hang around in these corners and they shoot at the heavy tanks to try to wear them down. And the heavy tanks try to avoid artillery while trying to win this corner. There's a town area here, which most of the time is unoccupied, but sometimes you'll have ambitious medium tanks that'll go into here, or heavy tanks, or whoever. Tank destroyers sit back here and here, but the problem is these particular tank destroyer positions are not quite far enough from the middle, and so it's easy to get lit and get shot at. So these are very risky tank destroyer positions. There's this valley in the middle, which is kind of a no man's land, and then there's the plateau across the top, which is over here on the map and over here. And this is where light tanks and medium tanks go to try to win this side and then advance on the enemy base. So this is, I like this map. It's a little bit less complicated than some others. There's also lots and lots and lots of bush cover along this ridge here, which is over here. And so a lot of times you'll have aggressive light tanks will come across here and light people sitting even as far back as the base. And so there's a lot of options on this map. Me and the Charmille are going to go and take the first light tank position, try to spot. I have very good view range on this tank, and I suppose I should talk about the vision game here. So this line here, the first line on my mini map is that's the max detect range or max spotting range. It's 445 meters, and what that means is even if my view range is higher than 445, which it is, it's this blue line, it's like 490. I can't physically detect anything beyond the max detect range or max spotting range of 445. And this is important to know because that also means if enemies are beyond this range, they can't spot me. And so when we talk about, tanks that you have to play at range, like the Poodle, for example, or other sniper mediums that have no armor, it's best to keep your enemies outside of the max spotting range because you have allies spotting them for you, but they cannot it's not possible for them to spot you if you're keeping them further away than their max spotting range, which is the same 445. The red line is the max render range, which means that even though you can see objects on the mini-map outside of that range, you can't actually see them to shoot at them. So if I look over at the hill area, I can't see those enemies over there. I can't even see my allies that are outside of the max render range. So between the two lines is good if you're playing at a distance and trying to shoot at enemies and want to ensure that they can't spot you. Of course, my role in a light tank is to not play at a distance. It's to spot enemies and get assisted damage. So I don't really want to advance too much. If you overcommit on this map, you can get yourself into trouble because of the long, flat areas that you have to use to escape, which is hard to do without getting shot at. So I'm going to stay in cover for a little bit. And this is a bit of a cat and mouse game here. Again, it's not always what you do that's so important, it's also what you don't do. And not overcommitting and not getting yourself into trouble is very important. I'm looking for the you know, any tanks that are going to try to... I'm trying to spot anyone who's trying to advance through those bushes. I know he's going to spot me, so I back up immediately. Now, when we talk about probing for opportunities, you know, I could sit here. I'm not quite patient enough to just sit there. So, while the Charmille gets a shot, and then he, you know, once you fire, you lose camouflage, and you're gonna, if you didn't get lit not firing, you're gonna get lit. So I decide I'm going to sit here and try to get some distance and see if I can spot those guys at a distance, which I can't do. So then I'm going to go look for somewhere that I can be more useful. Because if they're not going to advance, then we're not going to be able... We're basically just going to be looking at each other for a long period of time, which I don't want to do. So here is what I'm doing, is I'm probing for an opportunity, looking to see if I can't generate some spotting and assist damage and light some targets. So I'm going to try to get some elevation so that I can get vision on these guys. And also elevation's good because when you need to escape, it's best to escape down and keep your speed up instead of trying to climb to the top of a hill while you're lit. I'm just going to start creeping up here, or bush hopping. And it is with some trepidation that I advance this far, because if anybody is doing from the opposite team what I'm doing, like that Leopard PTA has not been lit yet. He hasn't been lit yet, so there he is. I bounced him. I'm going to try to keep bush cover and not get out into the open. There's an Object 704 right here, which I don't want to get shot by. He's not looking at me. I don't shoot at the E100 because if I get lit, you know, I'm going to take fire from the other side of the map. There goes artillery, so I know where they are. And here I get lit, so I know I can't stop. And I'm going to escape down. Because I can keep my speed up. And no one seems to be coming after me, which I don't understand. Oh, there's the Charmille. So the Charmille's he's going to start chasing me through the houses, and I'm just going to take cover. I actually have a top speed of about 70 kilometers per hour in this tank, and I don't think the Charmille can catch me. So now I'm going to advance again. I'm going to do the same thing and try to... wait a second. Oh, alright, so I have to pause here because it looks like we're losing the hill. It's 6-6. It's an even game. So again, now you can see my forces are advancing, my medium tanks are advancing on the plateau, which means I can advance. And the reason I can advance is because no one's going to be shooting me in the side if I get lit. It's very important in this game. So there's the second artillery. So I know that I know basically where they both are. I figured he's going to jump out and I can get a shot at him. It doesn't happen. See the object 704 over here. I decide not to shoot at the 261 because I don't want to get lit yet. I want to surprise this G-Sor and just take him out. He shoots me anyway. He's looking right at me. Doesn't matter. So I'm keeping the house between me and the object 704. I take a shot from the artillery. And now we're 11-6, and we have map control. So now it's really just a matter of surrounding them and killing them all. Let me speed this up a little bit. So I'm switching to heat here because the 60 TP has really strong turret armor. You can see the flash when the heat round hits this turret. And that's pretty much the game. Now, you know, is this the best light tank game ever? No. But, you know, I got 2,000 assists and 1,000 damage, so 3,000 combined, which is still a pretty good result. So, this is a battle on Erlenberg in the Stage 2 FV004 Tier 10 tank destroyer. I know I did a battle on this tank already, but this is really not about so much this tank as I guess, strategy, and, you know, I would play this battle similarly in other tanks like the T-30 or another high alpha tank destroyer. And the reason I picked this tank is because I had to do a mission for this Christmas event where I needed to get a high caliber. And a high caliber is, I think you have to have the highest damage on your team and do 20% of the damage of the entire hit points of the enemy team. So this tank is a good candidate to get that mission done. And Erlenberg is mostly a city map, and you know, outside of the village here, everything else is, you know, in a city area, and there's a lot of peekaboo type gameplay, and so I'm going to take a position right up here and look down this road to see if I can't get an early shot on somebody. So you can see our light tank is calling for help. He'd gone around here, and now he's being harassed by an Object 260. So I get a shot on that IS-4, and you see my Leopard crosses after I take that shot. And you know, a lot of times when you take a position and then everybody knows who you are, sometimes it's good to reposition and not just sit in the same place because people target you. And I really don't want to poke on that IS-4 again, so I decided to probe for other opportunities. And this is kind of an unorthodox position back here. Tank destroyers don't typically sit here. They usually sit up in this corner of the map over here. But I decided to see if I can't just see anything, in the spaces between these houses. I see a bush go down. This TVP shows up. I'm sure he wasn't expecting that. Because again, people don't normally sit where I was sitting, and it probably took him a second to figure out what hit him. You see the leopard can just see a corner of my track here, so I'm going to angle my tank so that he can't get another shot on my track. And I'm headed to this building for protection, and I'm waiting for the 10 seconds so that I'm not lit anymore. Keeping the house between me and the leopard, and then I'm going to move on. There is a chance that they're tanks, because there's no one here now on our side, that they're going to advance down this road. Or it's not a road, it's like grass on the other side of the road, but it doesn't appear that that's... They don't do that. But that's what I'm looking for. You know, most of our forces are in the city here. I personally think this is a good game. There's interesting gameplay that happens here. So that IS-4 poked and he got shot by my Leopard. Maybe it was the 705A. And you can see how the 705A is angling his armor to try to keep his lower plate covered, and he's side scraping. So the 705A goes down. You can see there's space under his gun so that if anybody decides to poke on the other side, I'll have a shot at them. And what the IS-4 winds up doing is sticking his gun into that area, but not fully committing. And so I back up because I don't want to get lit. Because he's less likely to poke if he knows I'm here. See the spaced armor on that Super Conqueror in front of me? Still waiting. Patience. Patience is a virtue in this game. I see that light tank is advancing on us. And he goes down. So I go back. I go back to what I was doing. I didn't want to get shot in the back by the light tank. If you look at the mini-map, you know, he's calling for help. He's alone out there, but still, we haven't lost control of that village. This is important. Because then enemy tanks would get around behind us, so I can afford to sit and wait. And he poked. So that paid off. So I'm up to 3,200 damage. If you see, we had a lot of forces here. A lot of forces are not lit on the enemy team over there. I'm just exploring a little bit, and I noticed that my Super Conqueror and my Leopard are going to reposition. I don't know if they're in a platoon or not. I don't think so. But you know, they're doing what I'm doing, which is basically looking for other opportunities. I don't want to just drive into a bank of enemy forces. So now, the Super Conqueror has that angle and I have this angle. So we have a crossfire. Or we're covering each other's flanks, I guess is a better, more accurate. And now all the heavy tanks are gone from here, so I expect that I'm going to have forces of my allies that are going to start reaching around this corner here. And as they do, they're going to light maybe this stage 4. So I'm looking down this road now, but it doesn't. It looks like he might have left. Aiming. Don't quite have a shot on the Super Conqueror. I don't want to miss that shot. I'm looking for that 110E4, then I see the stage 2. That's 7,200 damage. And this is pretty much the game, and I get the mission completed.